My name is Mr. Anderson. I am the Assistant Principal MYP Coordinator at ISL, and obviously I help out Mr. Printer with the personal project. Even though he is the coordinator, I'm kind of the oversight of all things MYP. Well, what happened in previous years is that because the diploma students are doing their exam during the third week of January, and most of the MYP students are on a ski week, that the year 11s would have been here on campus, and in fact they would have been the only students on campus, and we would have had 3.5 days of workshops and writing time for the report, kind of mixed in with some fun activities as well. This year, obviously, because of the pandemic and the cancellation of ski week, we had to do it at school during regular class time. So that was difficult because we had to choose what classes to take from, and we weren't allowed to have the normal assemblies and workshops within the MPR, so the big room where we fit all, say, 90 of you. And so we've had to do it within regular class time, and we've had to do it as screencasts, where you're listening to, say, me or Mr. Printer give instructions, rather than having us stand in front of you, the whole group of you, giving instructions that way.
8 years?
Whoa.
Yeah, 10 years.
And I've been supervising the personal project for my 4th year?
I don't think it changed too much, to be honest. Like, we still had meetings, we still saw the kids. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of being a supervisor, I don't feel that it changed. I mean, the way that the personal project's been delivered this year, obviously it's been a little bit different with all the videos rather than just meetings with the MPR. But in terms of being a supervisor,
I've been at ISL for 6 years now. I teach Spanish and I am the personal project coordinator. I also coordinate the approaches to learning skills, the ATLs, for the staff and the students. But the personal project is a huge part of my role. I mainly deal directly with the students, while Mr. Anderson has a lot of dealings directly with the supervisors. So I would coordinate the workshops, the deadlines, the PP report guide, the report writing, all the projects, all of that kind of thing. Yeah, it's definitely been a challenge. It's been quite different. We had to really think about it. In the past, we used to always get all of the year 11s and the year 10s together when they began in the multi-purpose room, and we would introduce it and people would work in small groups about their ideas and the global context. And of course, this year we've had to change that. So actually, I'm pretty sure for your year group, for the current year 11s, since the beginning, you've been doing screencasts. So we made that decision back in March that for the new group, we would do some screencasts, record them, and let people work through it at their own pace. And actually, the feedback has been really positive, both from the students and from the staff, the supervisors, that students felt like they could rewind the screencast and listen to bits again that were important. So from my perspective, it was a lot of work to try and bring it all together, all these extra screencasts and planning everything out. But I think from the students' perspective, it seems to have worked quite well. Honestly, I think it's an absolutely wonderful idea and initiative. Obviously, there's a balance to everything. So yes, it is a long process. It takes quite a lot of time. And it's something that's quite difficult for year 10s and 11s to organise an 8-month project. Some of your parents may work as project managers, and that's something they do on a regular occasion. But it's a definite challenge, and you're doing some high-level research, you're interviewing people. But the thing I love about it is that it's driven by your own motivations. So if you really love something, like one of my students this year, she's really into horse riding and she has her own horse and she's really interested in stem cell research. So that's what she did. And that's the whole point behind the personal project.
I think I'm pretty involved with the personal project. I mean, I wrote a 3,500 word essay, so I do think I'm pretty involved.
It's something that was pretty continuous because the teachers would kind of like make sure that you think of it, and then you kind of needed to think of it so that you didn't procrastinate or like miss out on stuff, and then so that you finish on deadlines.
I think the personal project, like, at the start, I think it's something that you get really involved in. But I think as the process starts, like during summer, you don't get as attached as before. But then I think as things start to roll along and you start to pick up the pace, it's something that you feel more attached to. But I think it depends on who you are and what you're doing for your project. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of felt like there were times where you were like really connected with it and really involved, then there were times where I didn't like think about it that much.
And I feel like after, like it depends, like I'm not necessarily going to go back and continue my product as much. Like I might use the thing like the software I use, but I'm not going to necessarily go and work on it that much now, kind of.
Well, during the 9 months, I think it was pretty continuous. It was always kind of in the back of my mind. Not necessarily always my first priority, but it was always there. Like I always knew I needed to do something, or a workshop was coming up, or an event deadline meeting. So yeah, I think it was pretty continuous.
The biggest change was in the process. So, and I think like I had a student this year who was making a documentary, and she really tried hard to get people together to make that documentary, but it was really challenging for her because she wasn't allowed to group them together, and she wasn't allowed to go and interview them and meet them in person and stuff. So there's been challenges from that front, but I think the main changes have been just that we've delivered it via screencasts, and you've been within your own homerooms as opposed to it being in a big group. But at the same time, you've had a chance to work in little groups within your homeroom. So I think from the students' perspective, there's not really been that many changes. One of the biggest ones, of course, is Personal Project Week. Normally, that is a whole week long, but this year we decided we would ask the students to try and write a draft of Section 1 and Section 2 of the report before Personal Project Week, and that was feedback that came from the students. And of course, another change that I haven't mentioned yet, the exhibition is virtual this year. In the past, we've always had people present in live, and the teachers come, the students come, the year 10s come, and of course this year we can't do that. But again, the feedback has been very positive from teachers, from parents. They've been saying, it's just so great because I don't have to choose one and miss a whole 6 or 7 that are going on. I can actually see all the ones I want to see. And of course, it gives you as students a chance to develop your screencastify skills, your editing skills, which are all skills we use in the workplace every day now, so it's a good thing.
And from our perspective, we think it is a more efficient way of delivering a lot of this information.
I like them because they're in screencasts. You can actually refer back to them if you need to. And also, I guess like it's pretty clear voicing and everything, and like everything works out pretty well. So it's pretty much like a normal workshop with just online. So it's pretty good.
I think the virtual workshops actually work better than what I imagined the physical workshops to work, because you can always go back and look at what you missed, or look at like a specific piece of information. So I think that they worked well.
I think they were good because it was nice because you could like focus and stuff, but sometimes it was really long behind it.
Yeah, it was really intense, like especially during Personal Project Week, just sitting in front of a computer for 5 periods straight was like...
I think they were pretty easy to follow. I liked the switch between Mr. Printer and Mr. Anderson because that way it wasn't always one teacher, and there were like different styles of presenting, kind of. I think it kept it interesting. Apart from that, I think it was good.
I think it takes a little away from the live presentation, obviously. It adds a little bit more work for the student if they're not savvy with that kind of tech. And I think there's a little magic lost, but then for some people that have a fear of presenting live, it's like a fortuitous thing, right? It's good.
It also enables some people to be creative in a different way. Like I had a sneak peek yesterday at some of the videos. I know, probably shouldn't have already, but I mean, there was someone there that were just incredible, and I felt really proud just looking at the whole array of the different topics, and it meant that we were able to look at as many as we want to, whereas before you had to choose. Sometimes you felt a bit bad because there were 2 going on at the same time. Perhaps if you had your 2 students that you were supervising at the same time, you couldn't see both. So that's really nice.
My favorite part. Unfortunately, it is the exhibition, which isn't going to happen this year, so, or at least not in the same format. So most schools, like ours, have an exhibition, so it's an evening where all the students come and deliver, very professional 7-minute presentations, and their parents are there. Sometimes students bring their grandparents to see what they've done, and it's a nice celebration of the end of the process. Again, unfortunately, this year we cannot have, say, more than 20 people in a room, so having it run that way doesn't work, which is why we're asking you to deliver kind of a filmed presentation. So unfortunately, the best part about the project isn't necessarily there.
I guess for me was to create my product because it was really cool, and like I guess that was the least like effortless part. So like it was good because the rest of it is just essays and everything, not that fun. We do not need to write the report. I do not see why we need to write the report.
No, let the next year do the report.
Torture.
I think that you have the liberty to do anything, and also it's something that can be really useful for later on, because if you need extra stuff in your curriculum for university, you can always use the PPA as a chance to put something into your CV that you wouldn't put otherwise.
I like being able to do whatever you want to do, and like kind of coming up with what products I wanted and things like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Make it more, like, I feel like we should do more activities around it, like make it more engaging, because it's quite like you're on your own in front of a screen, like that's it. Like, it's very, like, I get it's a personal project, but I feel like you could do stuff with other people at the same time, you know?
My favourite part is just seeing the array of different topics that come out at the end. In terms of the process and being a supervisor, probably just at the very end, seeing what they've learnt through the process and then being able to carry that through into the diploma, into their extended essays and all of that.
I like the kind of that inception moment where like they're thinking of ideas and creating ideas and watching it maybe grow or change or bloom into something else. That's really cool. Like you said, the process, it's really neat to watch it go from start to finish, and for if it's done right, for somebody doing something they really love and that they're into.
I think I would change the report. I think that the report is potentially a little bit repetitive, and that's something that comes from the IB. That's not something that we decide. But next year the report is changing. There's a new system coming in. Everything else stays the same, but the report will look more like your process journal. It'll be more like your process that went on, with photographs and screenshots and some reflections, but you won't have to write this big report at the end. So I think that's a really positive change from the IB that they've brought that in. I think I'd like to say thank you to all the Year 11s this year, because I genuinely think you've been a wonderful cohort. You've had to deal with a lot of changes, a lot of different things, but I honestly think when I walked around in the workshops, the Year 11s were really on it. They were working hard, they were trying to be diligent and conscientious and making sure they met their deadlines. And looking at some of the final products, we've had some great final products this year, like really innovative stuff that I'm really impressed by. And then the personal project exhibition website, you know, we were a little bit worried when we said we were going to give 92 people editing rights to the same website, and it was great. Everybody did it so professionally. They uploaded their video, they renamed it. People have been watching other people's videos. So genuinely, I think I'd like to say thanks to the Year 11 students and also to all of the supervisors for helping them out.